If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. All right, let's dive into this story because it's one that's starting to stir up real conversation across the league and especially in Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns are once again at that all-too-familiar crossroads, the same kind of place this franchise has found itself in more times than their fans care to admit. They're looking at the quarterback position, that never-ending puzzle that has haunted them for decades. Now, they've got 2 first-round picks in the 2026 NFL Draft, and on paper, that looks like a golden ticket. 2 shots at finding the next face of the franchise, the next elite guy who can change the trajectory of the team and finally bring stability to one of the most unpredictable positions in football. But here's the thing. What was supposed to be a loaded quarterback class for 2026 suddenly isn't looking like that anymore. You know how it goes every year. The hype builds up, analysts talk about how the upcoming class might be one of the best ever. College stars start the season with sky-high expectations, and then reality hits. Guys struggle, systems change, defenses adjust, and suddenly the can't-miss prospects start looking human again. That's exactly what's happening this season. A handful of those big names that scouts were drooling over are having underwhelming years. The Browns front office is paying close attention, and as it stands, unless they somehow land that coveted number 1 overall pick, they might not even have a shot at one of the true top-tier quarterback prospects. That's where things get tricky, because for a team that's desperate for a real long-term answer, it's never just about drafting a guy. It's about finding someone who can lead, command the locker room, handle the pressure, and survive the chaos that comes with being the Browns quarterback. So, in comes an interesting name that's started floating around lately, Mac Jones. Yeah, that Mac Jones. The same guy who went from first-round pick and early success in New England to being written off as a bust after his fall from grace under Bill Belichick's post-Brady Patriots. The same quarterback who's been on a journey that's equal parts redemption story and cautionary tale. And it's not just some random fan theory. Ken Carman, a respected Cleveland analyst who never shies away from bold takes, has been pretty vocal about it. He's doubled down on his belief that the Browns should at least make a serious run at Jones, and honestly, the more you look at it, the more intriguing that idea becomes. Carman's logic is pretty straightforward. He says, "Why do I keep mentioning Mac Jones? I don't think that you're going to be in a position to take any of the QBs who you might like at the top of the draft. So you need to think of the best options available to you. It might be a retread. He ain't that great, but he ain't that bad." And he's got a point. The Browns have been through the carousel before, signing veterans, drafting prospects, trading for short-term fixes, and yet they've still been stuck in this endless loop. But Carman adds another layer to the argument. He points out what many have already said. Jones was never set up to succeed in New England. How can you expect a young quarterback to develop when your offensive coordinator is literally a defensive coach turned offensive play caller? That experiment failed miserably, and it probably cost Jones more than just a season. It might have cost him his entire reputation for a while. Now, let's be real. Mac Jones isn't some dual-threat athlete who's going to wow fans with off-script plays or jaw-dropping runs. He's not Lamar Jackson, he's not Josh Allen, and he's certainly not Patrick Mahomes. But what he is, when he's in the right system, is efficient, accurate, and composed. The guy's a competitor, a true football mind who studies like a maniac and has proven that when he's given structure and support, he can thrive. We've seen glimpses of that recently with his stint in San Francisco. Yeah, the 49ers again, the team that somehow manages to turn every quarterback into a functioning piece of their offensive machine. With Brock Purdy sidelined due to injury, Jones stepped in and didn't just hold things together. He excelled. In 5 games with the Niners, Jones has quietly put up some very solid numbers. A 67% completion rate, 1,404 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. But what stands out more than the stats is the way the team has responded to him. They've won 4 of those 5 games, and his confidence seems to be back. He's making quick reads, delivering strikes over the middle, and executing Kyle Shanahan's offense with poise. It's the kind of rebound performance that makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, all he ever needed was the right situation. And that's why this Browns connection isn't as far-fetched as it might seem at first glance. Let's think about it from Cleveland's perspective. They've got a strong defense, a solid running game when healthy, and a coaching staff that knows how to build around physicality and ball control. They're not trying to turn into the Chiefs or the Dolphins overnight. They just need a quarterback who won't make catastrophic mistakes and can make the plays when it counts. Jones fits that mold. He's still just 27 years old, young enough to have his best football ahead of him, but experienced enough to handle the ups and downs of the NFL grind. And if we're talking value, it's worth noting that multiple teams were high on him when he came out of Alabama as a first-round pick in 2021. He's not some journeyman who's been bouncing from team to team with no upside left. He's a guy who, in the right situation, might still have something real to offer. Now, there's the contract situation too. Jones has one more year left on his deal with the 49ers, which makes things interesting. If the Browns wanted to swing a trade for him, they wouldn't have to commit long-term right away. He could serve as a bridge quarterback, someone who keeps the team competitive while they continue to explore draft or trade options for the future. And who knows? If he balls out, if he wins games and earns the locker room's respect, then maybe that bridge turns into something more permanent. Stranger things have happened in the NFL. Sometimes it just takes a change of scenery for a guy to remind everyone why he was a first-round pick to begin with. And let's not ignore the psychological side of all this. Cleveland is a city that's hungry, no, starving, for a quarterback who can bring consistency. They've been through heartbreak after heartbreak, from draft busts to injuries to off-field controversies. Fans have seen enough to fill an entire documentary series. So, when a name like Mac Jones pops up, it's easy to be skeptical. But at the same time, there's this flicker of curiosity. Could he be the guy to stabilize things, at least for a while? Could he be the next player to find redemption in a city that knows all about second chances? What makes this rumor even juicier is the ripple effect it could have on both franchises involved. If the 49ers truly believe in Brock Purdy as their long-term answer, and that's still up for debate given how well Jones has played, then trading Jones might actually make sense for them. They could get solid value back from Cleveland, free up cap space, and avoid a quarterback controversy heading into next season. On the other hand, if Purdy's injury issues linger or his play dips, San Francisco might hesitate to let Jones go. It's one of those situations where timing will be everything. For the Browns, though, this is about more than just filling a roster spot. It's about changing the narrative. Bringing in someone like Mac Jones would be a calculated risk, the kind of move that shows they're not content to sit around and hope the draft solves all their problems. It would be a sign that they're willing to explore every option, even the unconventional ones, to fix the most important position on the field. And in a league where the margin between winning and losing is razor thin, that kind of aggressiveness can make all the difference. At the end of the day, nobody's saying Mac Jones is going to walk into Cleveland and suddenly turn the Browns into a Super Bowl contender. But football isn't always about fairy tales. Sometimes it's about finding competence, leadership, and stability, qualities that can elevate a team from mediocrity to contention. Jones has shown flashes of that before, and if the Browns truly believe in their supporting cast, he could be the perfect short-term answer while they continue to build for the long haul. Maybe that's what Ken Carman sees, not a savior, but a solution. So yeah, it might sound surprising to hear the Browns and Mac Jones in the same sentence, but this is the NFL, where the unexpected is almost routine. A trade like that wouldn't just reshape the Browns' quarterback room. It would reshape the entire AFC North narrative. And if it happens, if Mac Jones really does find his way to Cleveland, you can bet the football world will be watching closely. Because in a league built on redemption stories and second chances, this one has the potential to be one of the most fascinating chapters yet. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Alright, so here's what's going down in Cleveland. And trust me, this is one of those stories that's got the whole locker room on edge, the fan base buzzing, and insiders whispering like it's the next big NFL soap opera. We're talking about something that feels way bigger than just football tactics or game stats. This is about leadership, ego, accountability, and a team that's starting to show cracks in what was supposed to be a new era for the Browns. Because right now, the rumor mill is spinning out of control after what allegedly went down between Myles Garrett and DeShaun Watson. And folks, the word is that things got real tense. Like, not just a heated conversation tense, but the kind of moment that leaves everyone in the room frozen, wondering if the team just hit a breaking point. So here's how it started. According to people close to the situation, the Browns locker room, already frustrated with inconsistency, poor offensive production, and DESHAUN's erratic presence, finally reached a boiling point. Myles Garrett, the face of that defense, the guy who's been bleeding for this franchise for years, reportedly confronted Watson after a team meeting that didn't exactly go as planned. And when I say confronted, I'm not talking about some passive-aggressive jab or a few words tossed around. This was a paida, as they'd say in Brazil, a chest-to-chest challenge that shook the vibe of the entire team. Garrett apparently called out Watson's leadership, his lack of accountability, and the sense that the quarterback isn't fully invested, that he's been distant, moody, maybe even disengaged from the grind that the rest of the squad has been putting in. And man, if you've been watching the Browns lately, you can almost feel this energy leaking onto the field. You can see the frustration on Garrett's face when the offense stalls, when the defense puts in work possession after possession only to see the other side of the ball sputter again. You can sense the exhaustion from a player who's been carrying this franchise through chaos, different coaches, different systems, the endless rebuilds. And then you've got Deshaun Watson, a guy with all the talent in the world but surrounded by controversy, inconsistency, and a growing reputation of being hard to trust. The locker room was supposed to rally around him, but instead, the vibe is that players are tired of excuses. They're tired of the mystery around his injuries, the cryptic comments, the uncertainty week after week. It's like everyone's walking on eggshells, waiting for him to either step up or step aside. What makes this situation even more volatile is that Myles Garrett isn't just any player. He's not the kind of guy you can brush off as emotional or reacting in the moment. When he speaks, it carries weight. He's the leader, the anchor, the guy who's been through it all, from the 0-16 heartbreak to the flashes of promise that always seem to fizzle out. So when he reportedly stood up to Watson, it wasn't about ego or showing dominance. It was about holding someone accountable who's supposed to be leading the offense with the same fire the defense brings every week. And that's where the tension really explodes, because for Garrett, effort and focus are non-negotiable. But for Watson, the perception now is that he's too comfortable, too protected, too far removed from the grit that defines the Browns' identity. Now, inside sources are saying this confrontation didn't just end with a few harsh words. The scene got intense. Voices raised. Players stepped in. Coaches tried to cool things down. But the damage was done. Some say Watson didn't take kindly to being called out, that he shot back, saying people don't understand what he's playing through, the pressure he's under, the injuries he's managing. Others say Garrett fired back harder, reminding him that leadership isn't about talking. It's about showing up, every single snap, no excuses. The locker room fell silent. It was one of those moments where everyone realized this wasn't just about one bad game or one bad season. This was about trust, about whether this team truly believes in the man under center. And that's the scary part for the Browns, because once trust starts slipping in a locker room, it's almost impossible to glue it back together. The whispers now are that some players quietly side with Garrett, feeling like he's the one who's kept the team's competitive edge alive. Others, though, feel stuck in the middle, not wanting to choose between two franchise pillars. The coaching staff is reportedly walking a fine line, trying to downplay the tension publicly while scrambling privately to keep things from imploding. And with the media starting to catch wind of this, the Browns' PR team is probably praying this doesn't turn into a full-blown distraction. But honestly, it might already be too late. Fans, of course, are split down the middle. You've got one camp that's all in on Garrett, the guy who's done nothing but produce, lead, and set the tone on defense. And then you've got the Watson loyalists, those who believe he just needs time, rhythm, and trust to return to his old form. But time's running out. The patience that once existed in Cleveland is fading fast. People are starting to wonder if the massive investment in Watson, both financially and emotionally, was a mistake. They're looking at Garrett, homegrown, consistent, fiery, and thinking, this is the real heart of the team. And when your locker room starts echoing that same sentiment, it's a sign that the balance of power might be shifting in ways that can't easily be reversed. From a team dynamic standpoint, this is a nightmare scenario. You've got a defensive leader who feels like he's giving everything, and an offensive leader who's being paid like a savior but isn't delivering. It's oil and water. The chemistry is off. And when that happens, it seeps into every aspect of the game, from body language during huddles to sideline conversations to post-game interviews that feel colder than usual. Sources say this isn't the first time Garrett's frustration has surfaced. He's reportedly voiced concerns before about accountability, preparation, and focus, but this time, it reached a point where words had to be said face-to-face. And here's the thing. People around the league are watching this closely. Other teams, other players, everyone's curious to see if the Browns' locker room can survive this kind of fracture. Because this isn't a small spat. This is foundational. This is about whether the Browns can truly build a winning culture when their two biggest stars are out of sync. Some insiders even believe that if things don't turn around fast, the organization might have to make some hard choices, not necessarily in the short term, but definitely in the offseason. You can't have your two cornerstones at odds and expect the rest of the roster to fall in line. It's sad in a way because this Browns roster is stacked with talent. The defense has been elite, the offense has weapons, the coaching staff has tried to find balance. But it all falls apart if the chemistry isn't right. And right now, every sign points to a locker room divided, frustrated, and losing faith in its supposed leader. Garrett's outburst, if we can call it that, might actually be a reflection of how much he still cares, how much he still believes this team can win if everyone buys in. But DESHAUN, he's got to show it. He's got to prove, not just to fans but to the men in that locker room, that he's worth the faith they once had in him. Because if he doesn't, that locker room could quietly, or not so quietly, turn on him completely. This whole saga has that eerie feeling of something about to implode if left unchecked. You can almost picture it. A few more losses, a few more questionable performances, and suddenly the body language between Garrett and Watson becomes impossible to ignore. Cameras catch cold glances. Press conferences get awkward. And before long, the headlines write themselves. Brown's leadership rift grows deeper. That's the danger Cleveland's in right now. Not just losing games, but losing the soul of a team that's been fighting for relevance for decades. At the end of the day, this isn't about who's right or wrong in one argument. It's about culture. It's about accountability. It's about whether the Browns can survive the storm of egos, expectations, and exhaustion. Myles Garrett made a stand, maybe out of frustration, maybe out of leadership instinct, and now the whole organization has to deal with the ripple effect. Deshaun Watson, on the other hand, has a choice to make. Step up, own it, and reassert himself as a true leader, or risk being seen as the guy who lost the locker room. Either way, the Browns season just got a lot more complicated, and every snap from here on out feels like it's carrying more than just playoff implications. It's carrying the weight of trust, identity, and the question of who really runs the heart of this team. Because right now, the whispers in Cleveland are loud. The walls are thin. And everyone, from the rookies to the vets, from the coaches to the fans, is waiting to see if this tension explodes into something that can't be fixed. The Browns wanted to be contenders. They might have become a headline for all the wrong reasons. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!